You're listening to the Camel Connection podcast, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the true cost of owning camels. So let's dive in. Hey, my name is Tara and welcome back to the Camel Connection podcast. As always, we are thrilled that you are here to learn more about camels because let's face it, they're not exactly the most popular topic in the planet. Now, as always, a bit of a disclaimer. We don't film this, we record this on farm. So if you hear ducks quacking and geese howling at me and dogs panting, I'm not sure if you can hear that through the mic, but I've got a little dog on me who's having a mild panic attack because there are some local shooters around and they just freak out with the sound of guns. So this is all a very animal-friendly space, and we're going to dive into some amazing content for you today, all about the true cost, the absolute true cost of owning camels. And I've got a bit of a checklist for you, actually. So I'm basically going to run you through this checklist, and just to see if having camels in your life is a potential possibility for you, or if you have camels in your life, it will certainly give you some things to think about and some things to expect in the future. Now, this episode is not just about monetary thing, like it's going to cost you this amount for this and that, because it's not. The cost of things is not just about money. There's time involved, there's effort, there's things to learn. So we're going to cover all of those bases because they are all costs and sometimes they're even sacrifices. So let's dive into this content. So the first thing we want to discuss is, are you actually open to learning new things? Learning new things in general, but in this case, obviously, we're talking about camels and learning new things, even though it may be different to what you already know. So, for instance, you might already have large animal experience, so maybe you think, no, having camels is definitely something I can do and it's totally possible for me and I've got this covered. And if you're sort of in that camp where you think you know all the things, then camels aren't going to be for you because they do require you to learn more. Always. Like Russell and I are constantly learning new things about how to care for camels and, how they're thinking, which obviously impacts their training and handling. Like, you have to be an open-minded person when it comes to camels. And I honestly think that it is irresponsible for people just go, I want a camel. I'm not prepared to learn about them, but I just want a camel because I want a camel. It's really, really hard on that animal because they do require different care and different attention. And you know how much, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, how much we care about the camel and how important it is that they get their nutritional requirements and their training and well-being requirements met at a camel level. Not a cow, not a horse, not an elephant, not a giraffe level, but a camel level. So that is the little first check that we've got for you. And the second one is, how much time can you actually afford to give camels, your future camels or your camels now? How much time are you giving them? And if we're talking less than 2 hours a week, then camels probably won't suit you. If you're talking more than 4, if you can commit to more than 4 hours a week, then camels are definitely suitable for you. If we're talking along the lines of the fact that you want to hire somebody to manage your camels, then the next question is going to be sort of more suited to that avenue. So if you're only can afford less than 2 hours a week, rethink the whole camel idea, or rethink your time and obviously fit your camels into your new time slot. My dogs are really distracting me. I don't know if you can hear the panting, but he's panting away. That's why I'm cuddling him, just to help him feel secure. Anyhow, he has a little thunder jacket on, so he'll calm down soon. Okay, back to check number 3. So what are you actually looking for in a camel? Are you looking for a workhorse? Like just off the bat, workhorse, that's all I want the camel for. If that be the case, then camels won't suit you unless you can check off the next statement. Do you want to build a relationship with a camel? If so, camels are for you. If you want a workhorse, like if you want to make use of the camel and you want to build a relationship, like a friendship with the camel, then they are suitable for you. If you just want a workhorse, I'm telling you now that camels just don't relate to that. That's why we call ourselves Camel Connection. It's not us wanting to connect with the camel. It's that as well, but for the most part, it's the camels that are super curious and want to connect with you. And the next point is if you're sort of along the avenue of you want to hire some help to deal with your camels, then camels can still totally work for you, but the person who is hired to be with the camels the most has to be super committed and prepared to bond with that camel. So you're looking for a big commitment of anyone that you hire to help with your camels. And obviously there are people out there, but some people, other hired help out there, just think, oh, camel's cool, and they get into it and they're like, nah, camels aren't for me. So this can also work in the ways where maybe you've hired help and you want to spend time with your camels as well. Of course, naturally you would. The bond can work both ways, but initially you have to put in the work to bond and build up that relationship with your camel. So when you do come to work with your camel or be with your camel, they know who you are. So again, those points, what are you looking for in a camel? You're looking for just a workhorse? Camels probably aren't for you. But if you want a workhorse and you want to build a relationship with camels, you've ticked that box. Camels could definitely suit you. And if you want the hired help, then you need somebody who's going to be very committed to that camel, and you obviously have to build up that strong bond and trusting relationship. So that's a cost of time again. So not only was the second point of how much time can you afford to give camels a cost of time, so is the third point. So you can see this accumulation happening. So this is more about you, because honestly, it is all about you. You're the one that's going to be owning for, caring for, and covering the cost of the camels. So the question that we have now, thinking about the true cost of camels, are you willing to fit camels into your life, or is the camel going to fit into your life? I'll rephrase that again. Are you willing to fit the camel's life? Are you willing to fit into the camel's life, or is the camel supposed to fit in your life? Again, this is a cost of time. If you're willing to fit into the camel's life, and you get that they require a lot of attention, and sometimes even urgent attention and care, then camels would be ideal for you. But the camels that have to fit around your life and maybe your very busy life, and maybe you're just like, it's just always been a dream of mine to have a camel, but you're not willing to fit around your camel, then I would say camels probably wouldn't suit you unless you had that hired help, of course. Now, the next point, which I'm sure you're all that's why you're listening to this episode in the first place, how much money can you afford to give to care for camels? Now, this is not the question of this is how much it's going to cost to keep a camel, because there is no one answer to that. It depends on where you live, the type of housing, the type of camel you get, given a baby camel or an older camel. Anyone who tries to give you one answer for how much it costs to own a camel, they're fooling you, because it depends across the board. It depends on when you get that camel, what sort of health it is. So there is so much to consider here, and obviously if you're breeding, if you're milking, there is just a whole pile of things to consider. So this is actually a question for you. How much money can you afford to give to the care of your camels? Is it less than $500 a year? Camels definitely aren't for you. It is going to cost you a lot more than $500 a year to keep your camels. And if you aren't spending that on your camels, you need to rethink their well-being plan. And I'm not just talking about feed. when I'm not talking about just feeding the camel here. I'm talking about veterinary expenses. I'm talking about routine parasite control tests. Like, there is a lot to consider. And $500 a year, highly likely, it would be a good year if you didn't spend $500 a year on your camel. But you need to be prepared for this, to spend more than $500 a year on your camels. So the next point is, like, are you willing to spend more than $2,000 a year on your camels? And I'm not saying per head or anything like that, like per camel. This is just a ballpark figure, because, again, it matters. It all depends on where you live, the camel's health, what you're doing with your camel. Like, there's so much to consider when thinking about spending money on camels. But if you're willing to spend and can fit into your budget more than $2,000 a year, then camels are definitely suitable for you. Now, I want to make a point about the next one. Maybe you're like, yes, I'm getting camels, I'm well and truly on the path, but I'm just going to do everything myself. I'm going to Google everything. I'm going to get as much free information as I can. I'm going to go on the Facebook groups and just get everyone to give me answers. If you're one of those people that just want to DIY it, highly recommend you don't go down that route and just don't get camels, because you are heading for trouble. I can tell you now, it is going to be so hard to keep that camel healthy and well, and you're going to have heartache and maybe even the deaths of camels because of all the misconstrued information and the lack of information. So this is just giving you a clue on the type of people that can have camels. And I'm not trying to exclude anybody, but this is what you can be prepared for. Now, the next point is something that I would like you to consider. And it's something you can null over. It's not like a checkbox or anything, but do you want a camel for you, or do you want a camel for the camel? I'll say that again. Do you want a camel for you, or do you want the camel for the camel? It's an interesting thought. So let's just debunk this a bit. If this is all about you and your lifelong dream has been to have a camel, well, that's fine. Of course, like, our dreams and goals and ideas have to be involved to come up with the idea to have a camel in the first place. But then, are you one of those people that kind of think, well, there's my idea, my dream. What can I learn now before I get a camel, or in the process of getting a camel, or I'm new to camels, to make this about the camel? And it goes back to the first point. Like, if you think that, you know all the things about large animals and there's nothing more that you're going to be fine with this whole camel thing, then you need to rethink the whole camel thing. But if you're like, I know for a fact that I need to learn, and you guys out there who are listening to this, clearly you want to learn, then, you've got to want the camel for the camel. What different feeding's going to be involved? What sort of different housing does a camel need? What about the fencing, the yards, the training, the vet care, like all the things, the equipment? What is different about the camel? And debunk that from there. Now, this we actually have a whole checklist available in our Camel Academy membership. It's actually the Buying Camels checklist. So, in that checklist, we go on about, your location and how, if that's actually suitable for camels. And we go into the checklist if you're buying dairy camels, the checklist if you're buying pet camels, the checklist to go through if you're buying riding camels or camels for commercial purposes. Like, we have an entire... Even we have a camel's confirmation checklist. Before you buy a camel, these are the things to look out for in good confirmation. I'm not going to go through all that now, because that is exclusively available for members of our Camel Academy. You can join our academy at any time over at our website, camelconnection.com/membership. But there is actually a little bit of a freebie happening here. So let me just explain that. We have not this entire buying camels checklist, but we have a checklist that can be really helpful to you in buying camels and or checking where your camel's health and well-being is at. And that free checklist is only available to people who sign up to be part of our Camels 101 webinar. Have you heard about it? If not, you've got to be there, because it is all about how to keep, care for, and manage camels. And we're going to go through even the 3 biggest mistakes that even seasoned camel owners make in camel husbandry and care. We're going to just tell our story, how we actually stopped listening to a lot of advice and our camels got healthier because of it. We're going to debunk our story. We're going to debunk the myths about, certain things about camel care and camel husbandry, what it's going to take for you to have camels in your life, or if you've already got camels, how you can keep their well-being at optimum level. We're not talking about medium, good, fine. We're talking about the best healthy camels out there, because I don't know about you, but I want my camels to stick around us for a long time because I adore them, and we have many goals and dreams ahead of us to work with our camels. So this webinar is free to register, and you get the checklist, which is basically a camel wellbeing checklist. And you get that only when you sign up to this webinar. So head over to camelconnection.com/camels with an S 101. So camelconnection.com/camels 101. We will be there live talking you through how to care for, manage, and keep camels in a domestic environment. Can't wait to see you there. And again, this is the place where we need you to be if you want to learn more about camels, and even if you're just considering camels, if you're already a camel owner, everybody, we're gonna share new information that you probably haven't heard before. Again, camelconnection.com/camels 101. We will see you there. And be square. I have no idea what that saying means, but it kind of rhymed. All right, we hope to see you on the webinar, and you can download that free checklist over at camelconnection.com/camels 101. See you there.